Hey guys, Clint here. Before the main video starts, I want you to know that what you're about to watch was one of 4 videos released last month for my patrons over on Patreon. But I'm putting it up here for free in order to help announce that the new Patreon rewards are coming out this Friday, that's in 2 days. One of the videos in that reward will be the completion of a character that I start in this video, the Flame Knight. So if you want to see how I take it from the sketch in this video to the final like you see here, then you need to become a patron in the next 2 days. Now I had a lot of fun with this guy. I wasn't even sure exactly what direction I was going to take it, but I had a lot of fun creating him, playing with the textures, and doing something that is really different from what I normally do as far as the design. But I also go over the creation of the astronaut image and the Oberon armor concept. So I hope I'll see you over on Patreon. Otherwise, off to the main video. I know you're ready to watch it. This was originally going to be part of my Oberon project, which is the fantasy fictional game that I was working on. But it is sort of growing out of that with the different characters, just being open to see what I come across. Now, to start with, I used some of these character silhouette brushes. Now, I did not create these. I borrowed these or downloaded them from different places around the web. I don't remember the exact location. You can just Google for character silhouette Photoshop brushes, and I'm sure that you could come across them or something similar. I went through and edited out about 30 that I liked from 100 or so. Then I made a collection of these brushes that you see me using here, which are just shape brushes. There are a series of different rectangles, squares, circles, spirals, etc. You will have that as part of your Patreon package. You will find these brushes. And I set how much distance I wanted in between these. And that way they create certain patterns for me to use. Now, the idea behind this is that the shapes are going to be driving the character rather than the actual objects in the character. So I will create a shape first, and then I will figure out what that shape actually is. And it's a different way to go about it. I had heard that another artist sketched in a similar way, not with brushes, but with pencils. He would draw different shapes, and then he would make the shapes into something. I thought, that's a pretty cool idea. I would like to try that out. So that is the approach that I'm using here. And I'm doing it about half and half. I half know what I'm trying to do with it, and I half am just letting some of the shapes fall there and assume that I will figure out a way to do it. And now I'm coming back on a layer on top of that. I lowered the opacity of all the shapes to the just ghost lines now. And I'm sketching on top of the new multiply layer and trying to figure out what I want to pull out of it. As you can see in this case, I had to redraw that shoulder shape about 4 times because I really wasn't sure what that is, but that's part of the process. Some of the things will be very straightforward, and some of the things will take a lot more time. Now, I can sketch a good deal of this. Actually, I sketch all of this without reference. But that is because I know a lot of the elements that I'm trying to sketch. Do not think that you have to do it the same way. If you want a little reference in order to know how a cloak falls or how fabric works or what an axe head looks like, and you need that reference, you go out there and you get that and you take a look at it and you bring that authenticity in. And if I were to take any one of these any further, then that is the stage where I would start pulling in reference. I'm trying to give a lot of character to each one of these, and also keeping in mind that I'm trying to build a consistent theme. Maybe these guys all exist in the same universe. And so you see that going on where these sort of tribal gypsy style desert girl here is a theme that gets carried over to another character, and he has the same sort of fabrics, etc. I'm also doing this on Twitch, of course, so I am taking suggestions from the chat about what I could incorporate into these guys. That way, I think they feel more, I'd say more believable in that they are a little less consistent. That this fellow here, an Ogre Monk, has a variety of different things that he's carrying around with him. Now, this character, I had no idea what the thing is that he's holding there. And one of the Twitch viewers suggested that it would be a sort of medieval flamethrower, which is probably one of the best suggestions I've ever got from the chat. And I thought that was fantastic. You see me going into it here. Now, I loved some of the shapes of what they were suggesting, and you will see that I end up not really finishing some of this guy because I start losing what the anatomy is under this. And do keep aware of that if you start trying to use this style, that you can end up losing what the human form is under there. And make sure you don't do that. If you get to the point where you can no longer tell where that arm is supposed to be, that's where you need to stop drawing it, go back to a quick skeleton or basic human form pose underneath or overlay so that you can see what's going on in there and you don't, go too far from that. Also, this again is a place where I'm throwing down multiple ideas. This is not a finished character concept. This is just a place where I'm putting out multiple directions that are similar so that when I come back and refine the character, I can figure out which ones I like. So you can see that there are multiple kinds of materials and design approaches that I'm using. In some places, the armor is fairly gothic with lots of points and spikes. Other places, it has different ribs to it. Other places, it's almost more scale-like. So these are all similar, but when I refine the character, I'm going to pick which one I think is best, and I should just go with that one rather than mixing 4 or 5 different kinds of materials and design approaches. Now, this guy is a complete departure from the other ones, not being medieval, but being a more modern soldier. And I am not very familiar with helmets, so I'm really just trying to come up with something that seems plausible as far as that. And I don't take this character as far because I start losing interest in him. I just don't really have any way that I see I'm going to use this guy. He just doesn't interest me, so I don't take him as far, and that's completely up to the artist. If you're losing interest in it, don't waste your time. Move on to something else. And I do, right there. I just kind of stop and I move on to this fella. Now, this is more of an elemental guy, and I pick out several different things, such as mushrooms. You can see lots of mushrooms here. And again, I'm trying to play off the forms. I'm trying to find those round shapes and the curved shapes, the hard shapes. And this guy ends up being kind of a mess. I like the idea of the character, that he's a collection of different, vines and mushrooms and rocks. But he ends up being very cluttered. And he needs to be much cleaner. And even at this stage, even this ideation stage, he should be a bit cleaner than that. Looking back, I could have handled this better. And how would I do that? I would probably cut down on the number of little things going on and give him a couple of larger shapes and maybe limit the number of little elements in there as well. I went with a strangler tree as the sort of body of the character. And then from there, I think I need a bit more of the human shape inside. Now, every time I feel like I start hitting my stride at some point, and I have to get all the way down to this guy before I start feeling like I'm hitting my stride and doing some stuff that I really like. Now, something on the face is that sketching the face, I went with using 3 different tones. All right, I'm still just going in black and white. I'm not trying to go too detailed, but I go dark with the eyes, medium dark with the corners of the mouth and under the nose, and then a light tone on top of the nose, the lips, and then the thickness of the round under the eye, just that little eyeshadow under there. Now, this guy is being able to be refined a little bit better than the other ones because essentially I'm piggybacking this guy's design off of the first girl that we did. So he's using the same sort of, robes, the hanging fabrics and the different textures. And we start talking in the chat about what he's carrying, and we come up with the idea it's some sort of rod that has a a chain with a big blade, and it's like a retractable chain. Now, thinking through the character, it's like, what would he have? What can I put on this character to give you a bit more idea of who he is and where he's from? By incorporating designs such as the little patterns on his fabrics and metals, etc., it gives an idea of culture. And that's a really good thing in order to add believability and depth. And it's something that I see a lot of junior artists don't do. So think about that. Think about adding patterns, etc., to the fabrics and little symbols into your character as well in the different pieces so that it becomes more believable. But that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and become a patron if you want to get more videos like this, and watch me live on twitch.com as well as YouTube. So I'll see you there.